What's going on?
Yes. Here we are, Tuesday night, Techs and Ads with you. Thank you so much for joining us. Hope you're keeping safe and well wherever you are. Of course, a big night tonight with BTCNF and the likes. If you do like what we're putting down, you're picking up what we're putting down, make sure you hit that subscribe button. We do this every single day, and everything we do is 100% free. Ding, hit that subscribe button and follow us along on this journey. We spoke in the last couple of weeks about this pennant formation. We also spoke about ETH and the bunch of formations. We've got some goodies to give away tonight as well, which relates very well to this little divergence at this demand level that we spoke of. Ads, if we bring that up, we've been making some changes to the UTG website. So if you go to the UTG website and you scroll down a little bit, about halfway down the page, you'll see a free guide that we are giving away. So that's 6 of our best trading cheat sheets, divergences, bearish and bullish, diamond formations, pennants, flags, you name it. So pop in there, hit your email address, and it will take you instantly to the next page, Ads, where you get 6 of our best trading cheat sheets. If you're on a PC, just click it, right-click, save as, and then you've got the guide directly to your computer. What I really like to do is to print that out, have it at my trading station, and then that way I've got a visual representation of any formations that we see, being the symmetrical triangle, being the divergence, flags, all of which have played out in the last couple of weeks. My favorite, the double bottom and the double top, which we're going to get into right now. Ads BTC. So what we saw was this double bottom formation that we spoke about. So we spoke about this pennant, spoke about this major demand zone, spoke about this double bottom a few weeks ago, especially on ETH. We spoke about the opportunity of a double bottom formation and the significance, I suppose, of this 38 zone and demand zone. What I am a little bit surprised at, Ads, is the fact that we held this zone. I'm not going to lie. I thought we were going to penetrate further down towards this particular level, Ads, but it wasn't to be, man. And here we are now retesting this supply zone once again.
It's still not over. It's
Ooh, that's cryptic.
it's still not over. We've had this W bottom, and I really like this how we did uh, do that formation. Ty's famous formation that he always talks about.
Yes.
But this level here that I was looking at, it's very short term. Well, you could call it short term. You might not. But it is a level of supply that I was looking at, and I did highlight that in the Discord today. And it looks like we are being respected at that level. And honestly, I spoke about this, I think it was yesterday morning during my morning update. And for those of you that don't know, I'm moving to the morning time slot
Yes, sir.
as of yesterday. And of course, tomorrow morning, it will be in the morning time slot as well. And then, of course, our live sessions on Tuesday, as in tonight, and Thursday will be 7:30 p.m. But we might have to delay tomorrow night an hour, so we'll keep you all updated on that one. But anyway, in terms of this level of supply, it's always good to wait for the price action to either move through it or not. And of course, that's paid dividends now because we did get a decent rejection off this level now, and we are seeing it fall back to this 19.1 and more than likely back down to this 19k area where we see some psychological resistance of that round number, which isn't too far away, admittedly. Look, we're probably going to head in that direction at the moment, seeing that we've had a decent movement off this level. That's the way that it's looking to me at the moment. And of course, Steamroller agrees with me. If you want to find Steamroller, you can find it on our website as well. But looking like that might be the case, Ty, seeing that we are trending now below and underneath this 78.6 fibs.
Yeah, totally. And we saw, again, these are fibs that we haven't moved for weeks now. They've been there for ages and ages. And we saw this sort of consolidation where we come up, we had a little bit of a retest, or the first test, I suppose, of this particular demand zone, started consolidating around this fib level. And then that's kind of given us the answer as we hit that supply and demand. And that's why the power of supply and demand is so apt in situations like this. We're not looking for dollar amounts when we talk about using levels of support and resistance, which is fantastic. If that's the type of trader you are, great. But you can gauge strength of a push using supply and demand. You can gauge areas of interest rather than particular dollar amounts where you might look to exit out of a position or indeed in this situation, maybe look for a shorting opportunity. So supply and demand, you can see that on the unitytradinggroup.com website. And we got a lot more to announce in the next couple of weeks about how you can get a little bit more information on some revamped content that we're creating at the moment. 100% free, of course. So yeah, I agree with that. It's totally that 19k level, this major trend line, and this previous resistance turn support level seems like, I suppose, the logical level at this stage. Potentially as low as this 61 level, we could breach and be within this sort of zone that we spoke about last week, as this sort of trending liquidity zone where a bit of action has happened in the past. So ads, if we were to revisit this supply zone, gauging how far we had penetrated this first couple of times, what do we think the reaction might be next time we revisit this?
Well, when we see the previous levels that we've observed, this is the one where this level was created, so we're not really taking into consideration that. But the first time we were respected quite well. The second time, the second time, well again, and then the third go at it, we've pushed through it a little bit more. It might have a little bit more left in it. However, it's going to be a decent level to break through. But in all, in short, we have pushed through half of this level now. We have cleared out a lot of these shorts. So it might be the time, if we do retest this area, it could be the end of this level of supply, and we could see that 20k if we retest this with some force in the future.
Yeah, agreed with that. And I've just highlighted at the bottom of the page there, our steamroller indicator, our custom indicator. Rule number 1, never ignore steamroller. This is a bread and butter setup, demand zone 38 and steamroller oversold condition where we had that double bottom there. So steamroller, again, one thing that we've spoken about a little bit in the past is how this parallel zone can sometimes, or not sometimes, quite often act as a level of support. So looking at the sell or the overbought signal that we had on steamroller, I think that would align quite well when we start reaching that parallel zone with a potential level of support at at this trend line and that 19K or that sort of 18.85K level. So interesting with BTC. We're at Tuesday now. Next 24 hours, I think we will get our insights as to whether we hold this level or we continue back down towards the 61 zone. Wednesday night, midweek volatility is fun times for trading BTC and ETH, certainly not the alts. So unless we've got anything more to talk about on that ads, we might jump over to ETH and have a look at what the baby brother is doing. Of course, if you like what we're doing here at UTG, make sure you hit that subscribe button and get instant updates every single time we go live and produce new content. Your support is really appreciated, and we love doing this because we love sharing it. We're not doing this because we have to, because we're selling courses or anything. We're doing this because we genuinely love sharing with the community. All right, ads, ETH USD. We're in seemingly in a little bit of this sort of limbo zone at the moment for ETH. We haven't made a push towards this significant supply. We had the double bottom there. We did talk about on our update on the weekend how we didn't quite make a lower low there with ETH like what we did on BTC. So we've had a nice little buying reaction from here, but again, this midpoint supply zone seems to be the one holding us up at the moment.
Yeah, so this supply zone that I've just drawn in was really formed off a pivot point. So we've got the first pivot being this one here, really taken into consideration with the top level supply there. And the second one, we've had a retest or an area of this level that's testing the liquidity in this area to the left-hand side. So we've created another short-term level there, which we've been rejected on. So the same sort of push and pull thing with BTC that we're seeing with Ethereum as well. So looking at this area and looking at the rejection that we've seen and the reaction off this level, we are pushing down underneath the 23. So we could see ETH move in a similar fashion. And if I draw in the next level for ETH, it's going to be around here, which is the 566, around 570 mark. If we do see some more downwards movement towards that level, and that does make sense to me for Ethereum. It's in the same sort of position as BTC, so we're looking at descending indicators, steamroller included, RSI included, and we are moving towards that 50 area for the RSI, so it does make sense to see 570, and we're not too far away from that.
Yeah, and I'd also be interested to see what A, Unicon, one of our custom indicators, says, and B, our EMA fan, as to whether that would align. I dare say it would align quite well with that with that zone. So there we go. So we've got our 50 and our 100 MAs lining up pretty well with that demand zone. So it seems to be the area of interest between sort of 575 and let's say sort of 565 would be the area of interest at the moment, I think, which again would align up pretty well with what we have with our steamroller sort of parallel level. And by that stage, we'd likely be very, very close to that 50 RSI, which, as we've mentioned a few times before, depending on what side of the RSI you're on, you would look at it as sort of a level of support or resistance, depending on what level it is from an oscillator standpoint. So that's going to be an interesting one with ETH. Would we consider that to be a higher high ads? Or we almost seem to be making a little bit of like a broadening ascending wedge from what we are there, sort of like a little bit of a flag and then a broadening ascending wedge. So again, that sort of gives us further confirmation that this area is going to be significant, and from there we might end up having another bounce up towards that sort of local supply zone.
When you say higher high, it's a bit difficult to gauge. So if we're talking about this movement on a smaller time frame, yes, because we've got this higher high in comparison to the left one, and of course we've got another one, and then we've got a higher low there as well, and of course higher lows are continuing up the trend. So yes, but if we're talking about a macro scale of things where we've got the higher high or the high being around 630 or 635 roughly, then we're making lower highs. We're just descending all the way down, and we're continuing on that trend towards the downside. Look, it's a very grey area if we're talking about this sort of time frame. If we're talking a 1 hour, yes, I would say it's a higher high. Lower time frame scale of things looking okay. However, 4 hour daily, I think it's a lower high, to be honest.
Love it. Cool. So that's definitely it. That's going to be the level that I think is going to be the interesting one with ETH USD. again, when it comes to alts, some of the USD pairs I've been having a little bit of a flutter on. I think Coinbase announced a listing today for AAVE and a couple of other altcoins, the USD pairs, which I'm sure are seeing some moves at the moment. But we're not going to share those because we tend to stay away from alts when the volatility is at this sort of level. And you can see down the right-hand side here, alts are copying a battering to a degree now as well. One other alt I would like to maybe have a look at is XRP USD. We haven't looked at that for a couple of weeks now. I'm pretty keen to see how that is faring, ads.
Absolutely. I'm getting a question over at YouTube. Is there any way to automate this indicator? We're talking about Steamroller Satoshi. Just let me know while we move over to XRP. So XRP not looking fantastic at this current time. If we're looking at the daily time frame, we are still descending towards that level of demand there. Ty, I think, is the next stop for XRP. Nothing really too much more than that, to be honest. Sorry, just reading some of this one. But yeah, looking at this level of demand here, we've got the retest to the right-hand side. We've got our movements, our retest, our another pivot points being made here at this 46 cent mark. And I think we'll end up there again as we continue this lower high, lower low trend. And I think we'll make that decision at 46 cents, to be honest, in the way of XRP. If we're looking at upside momentum, upside targets after that area has been met or after that area has been retested, I'll be looking around that 65 cent where we've got that pivot point here. And of course, we've got the retest of that area there just to the right of that. So that would be the area that I'm looking for. If we're looking at a
daily telling us after that, ads
a swing trade between those two levels of 40%. The daily, however, is telling a very similar story. But by the time we get to this 46 area mark on the daily, we'll still be well and truly on the down for Steamroller. But if we were to have a macro swing, it would put it roughly between probably 40 and 36 cents if I'm to draw in our fibs to see where we're going. So that 61 area lines up quite nicely with our level of demand. And of course, we've got the 78, which is 38 cents, very close.
Yeah, and that really reminds me of like the previous little mini alt season that we saw earlier on in the year, where this particular formation was really, really common, where we saw massive pushes on particular coins, and then this 50 and 60 were like magnets for price action. I'm not saying it's going to happen in this case. This is never financial advice or anything like that, but this formation is so popular, and we even spoke about it and did a little bit of a write-up inside the Discord as well. So to me, I would be, in my opinion, I'd be definitely paying attention to XRP at these levels to see what the reaction is after that sort of secondary push that we had off this previous demand zone, ads.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Just to answer that question from Satoshi, I think it was Steamroller he's been looking for. If you want to automate Steamroller, it's definitely possible.
Heck yeah.
So if you want, for example, if you wanted to, set automated buys or sells based on some of the price action or the oscillator movements on Steamroller, you can always set alerts. So if we go to add alert on Steamroller, we've got alerts built in, alert overbought signal, alert oversold signal, and you can also send that to a webhook, whether you use something like Alertatron or even you can send those alerts to something like 3 commas, and those bots will act upon that. So yes, to answer your question, can it be automated? Yes, it can.
100%. And for those who don't know what Steamroller is, that's our custom indicator that we have down the bottom of the page there that helps to identify overbought and oversold conditions. We've also got Unicon, Unimoku, a bunch of other ones which you can find out over at unitytradinggroup.com. But every indicator that we create can be automated with alerts on particular signals. As Ad said, with a webhook there, we feed that back into our Discord channel through Unibot. And whenever we get particular signals, it fires it to people inside the Discord, and Ads and I have our own sort of channels behind the scenes set up where we set alerts and it fires and gives us signals on particular conditions. So yeah, killer indicator. Loads of guys are using this and really finding the benefits and loving it.
Perfect, man. Perfect.
All right, let's get into the regulated markets. Of course, if there's anything that you like that we're doing here, or you have questions about anything that we're doing, feel free to pop it in the Discord, unitytradinggroup.com. Come on in. Everything that we produce in terms of guides and resources is 100% free. So yeah, getting into we're looking at Stellar now. Why are we looking at Stellar Ads?
I've just got a request from YouTube to do that.
Oh, love it. Looking at Stellar
the
chart,
BTC chart.
Yeah, high card Jesus. I love that name.
There's a bit happening on the Stellar chart. Just give me one moment. I haven't got it actively charted up right now. Just give me 1 second. I can do that. So there's an obvious zone there. Very similar to XRP, Ty. Very similar to XRP.
I'd be interested to see fibs from that swing low to that swing high and see if we're at a 50 fib.
I reckon we're at a 50, yeah. So that's a macro Fibonacci. Let's bring it in a little closer and zoom into the 4 hour. Let's resize the chart a little bit. So an interesting turn of events or interesting price action on Stellar, and I'll tell you why in one moment. Let me just get this charted up quickly. So we've got a few bits and pieces happening. So if you've been watching us for quite some time, you'll know that we use supply and demand to really chart up amongst other things. But this is the level that we really dropped from. So that's the first level of supply that Stellar really needs to break through. And of course, we've had a retest of that level just to the right of that price action there. So decent area at 950 sats. We've also made another level of demand, which is on the pivot point down here, which was retested not shortly after. But at the moment, we're pretty firmly heading towards that 50 fibs, which is at 869 sats. And it really needs to hold this level. So we're looking for this area, this Fibonacci support rather. Would you call it that, support? Hold over the course of probably the next day or so. And then if it does, we could probably look at a swing towards the upside, because if you look on a smaller time frame for Stellar, if we go zoom it down to the 1 hour time frame, we can really identify a little bit of market structure. So we've got this retest or this pivot point, this reversal of this level of demand, then we push up to make a higher high in comparison to some of the price action we got to the left, and you could probably call this the lower high off the 50. So the next resulting thing would be another higher high, and that would probably take it up to the supply for another retest. So that's probably the area that I'd be looking for XLM, Stellar.
Would you see something like that perhaps as well, Ads?
Could be the case as well. Could be the case as well. That's on a higher time frame, the 4 hour. I'd probably draw that formation in. But look, it's going to be an interesting one either way. If I draw in Ty's formation, and if I do that on a line chart, you can't really do it on a line chart in this instance. It could make a decision either way. We could even float around. That's why I'm saying we need to find out if this 50 Fibonacci at this area here is going to hold. Because if we do give that rounded bottom and we start pushing, more than likely it'll give you the same sort of information from Stellar, even if you don't have this formation drawn in. So this 50 fibs at this level here is very crucial at the moment, because if it doesn't hold and we push down, well, we're going to break through that trend line and create lower lows anyway. And if we do hold that 50, it's going to break through out of that formation and probably retest our level of supply. So, achieving the same thing without drawing that formation in, but it's good to have it there anyway.
Yeah, what I also like, Ads, on the 4 hour time frame, if we go back to the slightly higher time frame and put on our EMA fan, you'll notice that the 200 MA lines up pretty well around that demand zone. So that sort of goes to show how significant that 50 is going to be. We've currently got 50 and 100 sort of MA support, if you want to call it that, 50 support to a degree. And that's really going to be the final stand. I think if that level breaks, I would be waiting for the next 4 hourly close to sort of give a gauge on whether this bearish candle is going to continue onwards. But yeah, I think that demand zone seems like the last stand before a pretty significant drop if we don't hold that.
What does the USDT pair, just out of interest, look like? Very similar. Extremely similar in terms of price action. However, on the 4-hour time frame, we have made that higher high already in comparison with that one to the left. However, it's going to be very similar in the way of price action and the levels of supplies. Different, really, areas to look for. Looking at more than likely this area here. So if Stellar gets that bounce off that MA, that 50 MA, it could probably turn up and reach that 18.5 cent mark for the USDT pair. But I'm assuming you meant the BTC pair anyway. And to answer your question, Satoshi, do you have a lifetime access subscription?
We get asked that all the time.
The lifetime access one?
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't unfortunately have a lifetime access one because we find that people overcommit. That could be the reason. But yeah, we don't have a lifetime access for the memberships or for the subscriptions at this time.
Not yet, brother. Not yet.
Might be something we'll do in the future, though.
Maybe, yeah, maybe. All right, let's get into the Forex markets. Of course, anything we talk about when it comes to Forex and the regulated markets is purely just opinion only and trading education. This is not financial advice whatsoever. If you do want more information, have a chat to your financial advisor.
The US dollar index, something we look at quite regularly because basically a lot of the USD pairs on crypto are measured against the DXY anyway. So even if you don't trade the regulated markets, you really need to be charting up the DXY to see which direction it's going to go, because this is one of the resulting factors that BTC has moved up over the last couple of months. The DXY, the strength of the US dollar, has been falling. So gold, Bitcoin, other asset classes that are compared against USDT are measured against this as well. So something you should keep on your radar, which is the DXY on TradingView, which is among the all tab there. But in any case, we've been following this with great detail for quite some time. And I did mention Monday in our morning update that we are ping-ponging in between this really trading box, this area, this zone for quite some time now, and nothing's changed. We did open quite low on Monday morning, just after I did do the update, but nothing has really changed in any significant or any meaningful way with the DXY. I've really been moving in between this zone. The only thing that I can really observe is that we've had that lower low scenario, had a reaction to that, but we are continuing the trend to the downside. So, over the next couple of days, we'll probably revisit this tomorrow morning and obviously Thursday afternoon or Thursday evening Melbourne time. Probably revisit this and hopefully we'll be moving towards that 90.4 area for the DXY. And I think that's a valid thing to say, and I'll tell you why. Because in the way of the daily time frame, we've been on a bearish trend for quite some time for the DXY, and you could see that since the 19th of March this year, some 10 months ago, we have been descending and it hasn't changed. The only thing that has changed is the speed in which it has been descending. It's really stalled just for a little while. We've been moving to the right-hand side for a considerable amount of time, probably about a fortnight at the moment, just since the start of December. So just under a fortnight now we've been moving to the right-hand side, and that really indicates some indecision. But going off the original bias, we are destined towards that 90.4, but that can change if we do get some reversals and we push past this 61.8 for the DXY, and that will result in the euro losing some value, and of course gold, silver, and of course even BTC could suffer the same fate as those pairs if the DXY does continue towards the upside. But in any case, the general consensus is towards the downside. I will look at the SPX 500 and the All Ords to conclude today's update. So the SPX still moving down off that higher high that we spoke about last week. It's been a few days of downwards movements, and we did reach that 3637 area that I found late last week. That really coincided with the previous top there, or the support resistance flip scenario, where we're using it as support now, which was previously resistance. So looking like it's going to make a decision over the next probably few days towards the end of the week. That the SPX, in my opinion, has been on a decent run, and it does need a bit of a pullback as demonstrated by our steamroller indicator down the bottom here, which is quite overbought still on this time frame. And the time frame that we usually use to measure the S&P 500 is the daily. So I really would expect the S&P, and that was a terrible arrow, I really would expect the S&P to move towards that 3550 mark to really give us that market cycle, or complete, that market cycle for this, really this period, really, where we've had a movement, quite a decent movement from 3250 all the way up to around 3700. So a movement down to 3500 would be quite healthy, in my opinion. And the All Ordinaries doing exactly the same thing. However, we are seeing a little bit more accelerated price action with the All Lords at the moment, because it is a smaller market. But in any case, our steamroller indicator is seeing the same thing as is CCI and RSI, moving towards the downside. We did observe some bearish divergence. So bearish divergence being this sort of scenario here, where we make higher highs on the price action and descending price action on the indicator, which is demonstrated by the CCI. So we've got descending and ascending. So that is a bearish divergence on the All Lords, and it is playing out very nicely here from around that 7,000 mark, or 6,981, and we are descending towards that 61 fibs, just resting on the 50 at the moment. So I do expect this to come down to the 6827 mark, which is our 61, for a retest and a decision at that point. But thank you all for joining us tonight, Ty.
Yeah, 100%. Of course, if you like what we're doing, make sure you subscribe to the channel to get updates of this every single day. We go live every single day for 2 major sessions like this, Tuesday and Thursday nights here, Melbourne, Australia time. Look forward to seeing you. Trade safe, be well, and we'll see you for the next session.
Catch us tomorrow.
Bye.